Okay, we're reviewing for the test, and it has a lot of complex numbers on this test. We're just going to call it the complex numbers test. And complex numbers basically means you got real parts and you got imaginary parts, and the imaginary parts usually have an I in them. So here is a typical question. 2i plus 3 squared plus 5. Now hopefully you know what order to do this in. Your Aunt Sally told you a long time ago what order to do it in. Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. So, what page?
Yeah, no, it's scratch, so.
But some scratch paper then. Here's some scratch paper. Got a pencil? The main thing is to do the practice, even if it's on old school paper. So you should have started like this. I plus 3, I plus 3. All right, I'm going to pause while you try that. All right, so your next step, you would multiply out all those i's. You multiply them by 2. You add the 5 in. Who's got an answer? Raise your hand if you got the answer already. Okay, it's only 4 people still. 6, 8, 10. All right, well, give me another 15 seconds, and I think everybody will be done, I hope. And then I'm going to have you turn it my way, and I'll tell you if you did it right or not. I pretty much had everybody get that one right, so I'm going to speed through it now and say 2i squared plus 6i plus 9 plus 5. Then the 2 has to get multiplied in. 2i squared plus 12i plus 18 plus 5. And then the 18 and 5 can go together and make 23. And then why am I wrong? What did I do wrong so far? The I squared. What's the I squared part equal to? -1. So 2 times -1 makes -2. And that -2 can get added to that 23 and make it a 21. And there's still a 12i left over. 21 plus 12i. There we go. Okay, let's try another one. This one's complicated because of all the negatives. Be careful. There's a very simple answer for it. It's got 3 parts to it. Just be careful with your negatives. Applause while you try that. So, I was impressed. Almost everybody had it right. Square root of 40, square root of -1. That makes negative, and this is I, negative I root 40. This is the kind of answers I'm going to get on the test. And I'm going to be like, oh, so they did part of it right, but what did they do wrong? The root 40. What's going to root 40 really be? Root and root, what? 4 and 10, and that makes 2 root 10. So then it's negative 2i root 10. And yes, any negative would be in the front, then a number, then the I, and the last thing is the root. Okay, unless it's like this, and then you always want to have your I part last. That might not be like a full mark of the whole problem wrong because it's backwards, but you would lose something, like maybe 5% off, which is not fun when you've got, you know, that's like a half a grade. So just make sure you put the I part last. All right. So that's because the real part in a complex number, the real part's always first, and the imaginary part's always last. Okay, next, let's do 4 root. No, we wouldn't do it that way. We would do it this way. 4x squared minus 16 is equal, no, plus 16 is equal to 0. There we go. And I would suggest there are 3 ways you could solve this. Solve means get the solutions, which means the roots, the zeros, the x-intercepts. So how many of you are graphing it right now? And that's okay. Do you get that you could have graphed it, though? And if you would have graphed it, you would have saw where it crossed the x-axis. What if you graph it and it doesn't cross the x-axis? Then what do you know about it? What if it doesn't touch the x? Come on, think about it. There's no reals then. Okay, so then it must be imaginary. Then there's only one way to do it. If there's imaginaries, there's only one way to do it, unless you know the super complicated factoring way, and it's the quadratic formula. But I would suggest this kind, get the clump alone is my favorite way. That's like the 3rd or 4th way. All right, I'm getting multiple answers here, different kinds of answers. I've so far gotten 4 different answers from different people. So if I were you, I'd go back and look at it close. I'm not saying everybody's wrong, but ask yourself, did you get the clump all the way alone before you took the square root? I would submit that right here, it would be better to divide by 4 on both sides. Now the x squared is completely alone, and now I can do square root on the negative 4. Square root, and if you forgot that this is absolute value of x, you probably would have forgot the plus minus in front of it. And this square root of negative 4 is 2i, and then this absolute value makes you do 2 of them. X equals 2i. Wait a minute, sorry. Absolute values go like this. X equals 2i, and x equals negative 2i. So plus and minus 2i was your final answer. Let's say half the kids had that, and half the kids had weird other things. Okay, let's try another one like that since half the kids got it wrong. 6x squared minus 20 is equal, no, plus 20, sorry, is equal to 16. Hopefully you subtracted 20 from both sides, and you got, 6x squared equals negative 4. Were you there at some point? Then what did you do? Divide by 6. Good. Then that cancels that. Now the clump is completely alone, and I can get rid of the square root, or squared with a square root. That's a 2/3, by the way. It'd be better to simplify that, right? Now I'm going to take the square root on both sides. Now, absolute value of x. Now, how do you handle that negative? You can just pop it out and make it an I. Root 2/3. Oopsie. 2/3. I'm almost done. Final answer? Plus and minus I root 2/3. Maybe you have that one right. Only half the class again. Okay, tell me where the mistakes are happening. Help me understand. Yes?
Well, instead of like I said that the square root of like negative 2/3, instead of saying
Yep. Okay, thank you. And the moral of the story there is I can never be underneath the root. It comes from a negative that was underneath the root, but the i's always go to the outside and then the front. And then thank you for telling me where your mistake was. It helps me understand what kids are thinking. Yes?
I divide the 6 out and then I have the value because I figured it'd be easier to keep the negative 4 so I can do it even square root.
Okay, all right. Thank you for being honest there. So what she's saying is, right back here in the problem, she thought, and actually she even knew what she was doing, but she thought, I think I'm going to, I think I'm going to square root right here because she knew she could do a nice square root of negative 4. And it actually can work, but man, it gets really complicated after that. Okay, so I thank you for explaining that. Because if you're able to show people what your mistake is, or like say it, it's a really big step. Because knowing what you don't know is like one of the most important things in math. All right, we're going to do one more like that since we had a lot of mistakes. We've got to get good at this. All right, let's say this was 5x squared minus 10 is equal to negative 50. Solve. Don't have to write the original problem. You can do the first step in your head if you want. Write it from there. Have motivational issues today? It's okay. I have them sometimes. In case you're wondering, after you've added 10 and you got 5x squared equals negative 40, I recommend dividing by 5. X squared equals negative 8. Raise your hand if you got that far. Okay, now finish it. There's still work to do here. Tried to do too much in your head, made a little mistake in there. The square root of 8 can be simplified. That's it. That's it. That's it. Yep. Yep. You forgot to do the absolute value on the x, and therefore you forgot the plus and the minus. Yes. 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 When you broke up your root 8, you messed it up. Your root 8 doesn't come out to that. Yes. Yes. Yes, except now from there, you need to say plain x is equal to plus or minus. So you got the next step to do, and then you'll have it. Good, good. 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 Okay. So from here, I was surprised how many people had that much trouble from here. But I get it. It's a lot of pieces. There's a lot of places to mess up. Y'all knew to do the square root. That's good. But a lot of people forget to do the absolute value, and they just say x. That'd be wrong. You need the absolute value of x. And then over here, a lot of people break up that 8, and they try to just do it quick in their head and go, oh, so it's 4 root 2. You'd be amazed how many times I marked that one wrong. It's not 4 root 2. Root 8 is, always do 2 roots first. Root 4, root 2. That'll keep you from making that mistake if you do 2 roots first. And then you go, okay, what is that? Root 4 is really 2. Now, don't forget the negative underneath there also. So then you have 2I root 2. Then, this breaks into 2 parts. X equals 2I root 2, and x equals negative 2I root 2. Couldn't you just put a plus minus on it? Yes, you could have. Plus or minus 2I root 2. Okay. I think I've beat that one pretty much to death. Probably be riots breaking out if I ask you to do another one. So, let's try this one. I to the third. Well, if you know what I squared is, this shouldn't be that hard. But still people make, oh, yeah, this is easy. And they write down the answer, and it's wrong. Do it slowly and carefully. Simplify yours a little more, and you have it. Yes. In the back corner, simplify yours a little more, and you have it. No, I didn't say you two, I said the back corner. Okay, so I haven't checked. Yours is right. Yours, the square root of negative 1 is something simpler than that. Good, 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 good. Simplify yours more. Yes, 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 yes. Yes, good. Yes, okay, awesome. That one was boiling down to this. I squared times I, or I to the first. And this part's negative 1, and if you just do this one little step at a time, negative 1 times I to the first, and then some people gave me that as their answer, and it's just not simplified all the way. Negative I to the first, and then it's still a little bit messy because you could just say negative I. There we go. Okay, if that's negative I, what's I to the 7th? If I were you, I'd always break them up into I squareds and I's. Let me think. Okay, got it. Yes, 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 yes. Is that a 1 or is that an I? Okay, if it's an I, then you're good. You just need to simplify it a little bit more. Yes, yes. Is that an I?
Yeah.
Okay, put a nice big dot on the top of it and I'll believe you. Good, 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 good. Okay, negative I is what we were looking for there. Because I squared, and then an I. Negative 1, negative 1, negative 1, which makes negative 1. I, which makes negative I. All right. So let's move on to a different kind. Let's say yesterday's stuff, you had one of these. Seems like a simple little FOIL problem, and it is, except you got a little twist in it. And see if you can catch it. Figure this one out. I'll pause for a second while I try this. I'm not dumb. I know that some of you, when you're doing a problem like this, you get frustrated and then you look at somebody's right answer and you write it down. Okay, obviously, that doesn't help you at all. I'd really rather have you get it wrong. Actually refreshing to see people get it wrong if they're just like being honest. It's so easy to cheat and look at somebody else's and know, oh, the answer is like 14 minus 5i. I'll put that. I want you to learn. You want to learn it too. So if it takes an extra step to learn it, take the extra step. Okay, firsts, that times that. 3i outside, that times that. Negative 12. Insides, that times that. Plus 2i squared. And lasts, minus 8i. See if your first line matched that. And if it did, we'll see how, I bet you're pretty likely to get it right if you made all of those 4 little math problems correctly. Did all 4 parts right. Because from here, it's not too hard. That's a negative 1. So then 2 times negative 1 makes negative 2. And the negative 2 gets to go with the negative 12 and make negative 14. And then you just get to put all your i's together, which are these two, and you would get negative 5i. Okay? So, analyze your mistakes. How many of you made a mistake at the very beginning part when you were foiling it out? Thank you for being honest. Some of my best students. Probably because they're not scared of raising their hand and saying that they made a mistake. All right, try this. Everybody, 4 plus I and I minus, or 2i minus 6. Try that one. 4 plus I times by 2i minus 6. Firsts, outsides, insides, lasts. There's a couple people that didn't show me their answers, but everybody that did show me their answers was right. I'm going to go check on those people in a sec. 4 times 2, 8i. Outside, minus 24. Inside, plus 2i squared. And lasts, minus 6i. And then this and this can go together because they're like terms. And this makes a negative 1, so that's negative 2 with the negative 24 makes negative 26. And these guys together make plus 2i. Negative 26 plus 2i. Okay. Now let's try another hard one. Doesn't seem that hard. What's the solutions? The roots, the zeros, the x-intercepts. Remember, you got 3 ways. Can you factor it? Nope. If you can't factor, what always works? Quadratic formula. What if you don't feel like doing the quadratic formula? There's another way I showed you. Get the clump alone. Now, but you might be going like, but there's a y in there. Aren't we trying to find the solutions, which are also known as the x-intercepts? The x-intercepts are where, finish that sentence, y equals 0. So you could put a 0 right here. Do you have to? No. You could do the quadratic formula on it, and you could leave it the way it is. although it's better to have a 0 there. Yes, yes. There's not a negative under the root, so there's no I. Yes, yes. There's no I, because there's no negative underneath the root. When you move that 7 to the other side, there won't be a negative anymore. Yes, 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 yes. You did the square root of 7 and said it was 7. The square root of 7 is just the square root of 7. So Mr. T, you're right. Miss L, you're right. Yes, thank you. I had to tilt it a little bit. Okay, good. It's not an absolute value anymore because you got the plus and minus on there. Good. And it's, I guess you could say why. Yes, that's right. Okay, good. So let's show you this one. I personally would have put a 0 in here, and I'd have done get the clump alone. So that goes 7 to the other side, and then square root, and then absolute value of x, and then 2 answers. Oops, I just did the same mistake somebody else did. Square root of 7, sorry, and then x equals square root of 7, and x equals negative square root of 7. All right, I want to prove a point here. Would you please take the same exact problem and do it? Did anybody use the quadratic formula on it? Did you all get it right? That's an interesting note, isn't it? Everybody that did the quadratic formula got it right. Would you please all do the quadratic formula on this? It'll be quick, I promise, because B is 0. Do the quadratic formula quick. You got to see that quadratic formula gets the roots, just like get the clump alone gets the roots. Quadratic formula. If you're doing the quadratic formula, of course you need A, B, and C. A is the 1. B is not here, so we put 0. And C would be this part, negative 7. So x equals 0 plus or minus square root of 0 squared minus 4ac, 4 times 1 times negative 7. I think it's smart to put those in parentheses. All over 2a, 2. And then I have x equals positive 28 all over, square root of 28 plus and minus all over 2. And then x equals plus and minus 7 times 4 is 28. So this is root 4 and root 7. And that's 2 root 7. So it's 2 root 7 over 2. And those cancel. X equals plus and minus root 7. Now, does that mean it's better than get the clump alone? No, but there's the same thing. To get the clump alone thing is getting you the same thing as a quadratic formula would. That's the main point there. Quadratic formula would get you the same exact thing. All right. So what if you graph it and you can't see where the roots touch? Then you got one. That's only one of 4 ways to solve it. Use the quadratic formula. If it doesn't actually touch the x-intercepts, the quadratic formula works really well because it has a plus and minus built right into it. You'll have a negative square root, which you know how to handle. Yes? No calcs. Nope. Okay. All right. I think that's enough. Let's just work on your homework here. Your homework is fairly, it's not long, but I know it's got a lot of problems, and I think you should do them all to practice. I think it's good practice. And it's the most important assignment, so I'm not cutting anything out today. Just do the assignment as is. Please take the time, double check it. Don't want to let your guard down and bomb a test right before break here. Yes? I gotcha. I heard that from other people in last hour that the review sheet was having a hard time downloading. So go to the My class instead of the red one with the I squared on it. Go to the one that has my giant face on it. And look for the one that says today's date, which is 12/4, assigned on 12/4. and you can get the worksheet that way. If you go log in through Safari, that would also work. For some reason, the app for Schoology is not working today, unless you go to the class with my face on it, and then you'll be able to find the assignment for 12-4. That's all I got for the video for today.